Former model and restaurateur B. Smith testified in front of Congress today, pleading for Alzheimer's disease research funding.
Smith and her husband told a congressional committee that Alzheimer's is threatening to overwhelm our health care system. CBS News' Dr. Max Gomez is here with the story. Max.
Well, Dick and Christine, the numbers are frightening. More than 5 million Americans now have Alzheimer's disease, and that number could triple by 2050, costing more than $1 trillion a year and bankrupting Medicare.
It's been a tough time for me because I do have early onset Alzheimer's disease.
It was a halting and emotional testimony before a Senate committee this afternoon as B. Smith and her husband described her struggle with the memory-robbing brain disease.
I've seen a woman who virtually could do everything, who could sing, who could dance, and now watching her get up, try to do things, look me in the eye and say, honey, I'm broken.
Smith and Gaspy were the most visible faces among hundreds of Alzheimer's patients and caregivers who descended on Washington to lobby for increased funding for Alzheimer's research, pointing out that cancer and heart disease get many times more federal dollars, even though the human toll is just as great.
I'm here to ask you to make a difference, not just for the 5 million Americans who have Alzheimer's and their caregivers, but for the future generations who will face that.
Smith's plight became painfully public when she went missing last November, walking off a Hampton bus in Midtown and then wandering nearly 50 miles on foot over the next 18 hours. Her daughter finally spotted her at a West Side diner. The hoped-for result from today's lobbying efforts is that increased research funding will lead to a treatment and perhaps a cure.
I'm here because I don't want anybody else to have to go through this.
Current Alzheimer's research funding is less than $600 million a year. Until a cure is found, researchers are recommending something called the MIND diet. It's a blend of the most brain-healthy foods in the Mediterranean and DASH blood pressure diets. It contains much more in the way of berries, nuts, green leafy vegetables, whole greens, beans, fish, olive oil, and wine, and much less red meat, animal fats, and sugar. Patients who follow the MIND diet cut their risk of Alzheimer's by more than half, and their waistline and hearts were also much healthier. Dick and Christine?
Well, it's all natural, so thank you, Dr. Max.
Yeah.
So important, and I'm sure it took a lot of courage for Mrs. Smith to get up there and speak.
And such a devastating disease, and yet she's still young, and to face it at such a young age makes it that much more difficult.
And she's such a classy woman. You know, I was at an event a few years back with her, and I was so nervous sitting next to her. I'm like watching which fork she picks up first, and then I pick up that fork.
She's the expert, right?
It's like, I can't mess up sitting next to B. Smith.